guys, it's Jerningam here, as I'm going to be showing you now in a video of the Chinese military. Looks like in a football stadium, but it couldn't be any more realer, guys. This is for Hong Kong. Chinese military have came in their thousands, and for the protesters, and yeah, she'll get into it.
This may have been filmed covertly, but there's nothing surreptitious about this show of force. The footage appears to show thousands of Chinese military personnel gathering at the border with Hong Kong, a clear message to the protesters there. For months now, the authorities in Hong Kong have struggled to quell fierce pro-democracy protests. Although Hong Kong has autonomy, it is a region of China, and today Beijing issued a clear warning.
The central government will not sit on its hands and watch. We have enough solutions and enough power within the limits of basic law to quell any unrest swiftly.
The Chinese government knows the deals struck in these skyscrapers influence global markets. Hong Kong's one of the most important financial centres in the world. Its significance illustrated as today even the US president urged China to settle tensions here. Many leading international firms have a presence in the city, but the once booming economy is set to stagnate amid the ongoing political unrest.
We want Hong Kong to return to the vibrant, dynamic global financial centre that it is.
Expat business leaders are worried.
We're concerned about the international reputation of Hong Kong, because the international reputation and the confidence that Hong Kong enjoys from other global centres and indeed worldwide is what sustains the business here.
What would be the impact if Beijing did take drastic action?
Well, look, no one wants to see that. We want to see Hong Kong bounce back from this.
Distortions to the economy here will be watched.
Don't know why she's upside down.
Because Hong Kong is a gateway to China. Thousands of international businesses have bases here, allowing money to flow in and out of the world's second biggest economy. And China doesn't want its strength undermined. But it's in no one's interest to rock this region any further. Rebecca Barry, News at 10, Hong Kong.
Things couldn't be any more realer, guys. The Chinese military in Hong Kong gotten that bad. The protesters had to take in the Chinese military. Ridiculous. And I have been doing a lot of these videos recently. I mean, I do like doing my gaming videos, but Donald Trump talking about Israel.
That opportunity again, because I think they really would. I think they really missed a great opportunity. I think they feel that they missed a great opportunity. But China very much wants to make a deal. We're talking to them. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Why does it feel the need to get involved in the two congresswomen's trip to Israel?
Well, I'm only involved from the standpoint of they are very anti-Jewish and they're very anti-Israel. I think it's disgraceful, the things they said.
Donald Trump doesn't half make me laugh sometimes, the stuff he says. You guys would agree, or people that have actually watched these news videos like I do.
And they've become the face of the Democrat Party. So I did absolutely put out a very strong statement. I think if you look at their language, if you look at what they've said, if I ever said it, it would be a horrible month, to put it mildly. So the things that they've said, Omar, Khalid, what they've said is disgraceful. So I can't imagine why Israel would let them in. But if they want to let them in, they can. But I can't imagine why they would do it.
Are you worried that a prolonged trade war with China will pitch the economy into a recession?
No, I think the longer the trade war goes on, the weaker China gets and the stronger we get. We're taking in massive amounts of money, billions and billions of dollars, Steve, as you know. And I think the longer it goes, the stronger we get. I have a feeling it's going to go fairly short. I think it's going to be China's lost millions of jobs. You saw that reported today. Thousands of companies are closing in China. And I don't know, maybe they want to do this for a year. They'd love to have somebody like Biden who doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, I just put a clip where he said, we want to build up China. We want to build up China. Well, they gave us a very strong China. China's taken out over $500 billion a year for many years from our country. And that's not going to happen anymore.
How concerned are you, let me just follow up, sorry. How concerned are you about a violent crackdown by the Chinese in Hong Kong?
Well, I am concerned. I wouldn't want to see a violent crackdown. I put a little bit of a memo out last night. He's a man I like a lot. I get along with him very well, President Xi, and I said that I would be willing to bet that if he sat down with the protesters, a group of representative protesters, I'll bet he'd work it out in 15 minutes. I bet he'd work it out very quickly. I know it's not the kind of thing he does, but I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. I really believe if he sat down, they have a certain little leadership pool.
Yep,
If
probably.
he sat down with that leadership pool, I'll bet he'd work something out very quickly. It really seems like things that could be worked out pretty easily.
Trying to visit Prime Minister Netanyahu about the
I
conduct
don't comment about who I spoke to, but I think my social media statement pretty well speaks for itself. I feel that they are so anti-Israel, so anti-Jewish. Again, if other people made that statement, there would have been hell to pay. So, but I did speak to people over there.
Sir, China has said that they want to retaliate, that they're going to retaliate because of the tariff increase that you announced. What's your response to that?
Well, if they did retaliate, which I don't think they will do because we're talking to them and they're offering things that are very good, I don't think they'll retaliate. But if they did, we have the ultimate form of retaliation. I think they'd have very few jobs left in China because we'd be able to step it up. Just so you understand, I've been very mild about it. Very, very mild. There's a long way I can go. And somebody had to take on what was happening with China. We can't allow China to take out of our country $507 billion every year, not including intellectual property theft and so many other things. So we're having very good talks with China. I think things will happen, but we'll see.
If they do retaliate, will you want your team to meet with them in September as planned, or no?
Well, that's true. Look, September, the meeting is still on, as I understand it. But I think more importantly than September, we're talking by phone, and we're having very productive talks. They would like to do something. I will tell you that. And the talk we had a few days ago with my two representatives, nobody knew what was on that talk except for myself, China, and those two people. That was a very good conversation.
You want Jay Powell to cut interest rates some more?
Jay Powell should be cutting rates because every country all over the world is cutting, and we want to stay sort of even. And I don't mind if we're higher, we're better, we're a better credit, but we're way too high. Jay Powell's made a big mistake. He raised them too fast, and he also quantitative tightened. He did quantitative tightening. That was a big mistake. $50 billion a month, and it put us in a position. And interestingly, even with normalized interest rates, President Obama was paying nothing, and we have a much better economy. And you have to look at our economy also from the day after my election, because we picked up tremendous steam the day after the election. That's not attributable to President Obama. They only did that because of us. So when somebody says from January 20th, it's not from January 20th. It's from November 9th, the day after the election. We picked up. The fact that I won lifted our economy greatly. And if I didn't win, it would go down. And frankly, if for some reason that happened in the 2020 election, you'll see this economy go down the tubes. I will tell you that right now.
Do you have any idea on when China's going to follow through on their ag purchases and crack down on fentanyl?
They want to follow through very quickly. This was part of the conversation that we had. They had a special representative actually come over and talk to us, a different group, and a message to me, a very strong message to me. They want to start doing that very quickly. I'll be honest, I'm not there yet. It's not China. I'm not there yet. We'll see what happens. I really would like to see China in a humane way solve the problem in Hong Kong. Humanely solve the problem in Hong Kong. And I think they could do it very quickly. You know, I said yesterday, I really have a lot of confidence in President Xi. I know that if he sat down with their representatives, I have no doubt he would solve that problem quickly.
In your conversations with people connected to Israel, did you encourage them to reject the concept?
No, I don't encourage or discourage. I think that if Israel allowed them to come in for for the normal reasons. Other than those reasons, I really believe that it would be a terrible thing for Israel. I think it would show a terrible sign. They want to do boycotts. They said horrible things about Jewish people. They said horrible things about Israel and Israelis. I think it would be a terrible thing, frankly, for Israel to let these two people who speak so badly about Israel come in. And they have become, amazingly, the face of the Democrats. The Democrats don't want to do anything to condemn them. If this were 10 years ago, or if this were maybe a different time or different people or whatever, they would be condemned for the things they've said. They've said some of the worst things I've ever heard said about Israel. So how can Israel say, oh, welcome? I don't think it would be a good thing for Israel.
Mr. President, do you think that Steve King needs to resign?
I don't know the situation with Steve King. It looked like I read a statement that supposedly he made. I haven't been briefed on it, but certainly it wasn't a very good statement.
So you're going to go to the G7 pretty soon, and I think you're going to meet with Boris Johnson. Are you going to have some sort of declaration about the intent to seal a trade deal with him for the Britain?
So we're dealing with the UK on trade and a trade deal, and we're going to have a great deal made. I've been dealing with Boris Johnson. I just spoke to him yesterday. I'll speak to him again. He and I are very much aligned. We feel very good about each other. I think we'll make a fantastic and big trade deal with the UK. Actually, we should do much more business than we're doing with the UK. You know, it's they're probably, I don't want to say our closest because I don't want to insult other people, but certainly, or countries, but certainly they're one of our closest allies anywhere in the world. And we're going to have a fantastic relationship with UK, and we're going to have a great trade deal with UK, and that's moving along rapidly.
Any other goals for the G7, sir?
I think just relationship. We'll see what happens. We have a lot of things to discuss. A lot of things to discuss.
Corey going to announce tonight?
I don't know. Corey Lewandowski, I think, would be terrific if he ran, but I don't know that he's going to run. I spoke to him about it a week ago. Frankly, I think it's something he'd like to do, but I don't know that he's going to do it. I think he'd be very good. He loves New Hampshire. He loves our country. If he did it, I think it'd be very formidable. We're going to look at that very closely, and we're looking at the whole gun situation. I do want people to remember the words mental illness. These people are mentally ill, and nobody talks about that. But these are mentally ill people, and people have to start thinking about it. I think we have to start building institutions again because, you know, if you look at the 60s and 70s, so many of these institutions were closed, and the people were just allowed to go onto the streets. And that was a terrible thing for our country. They closed them. Cities couldn't afford them, and they closed them. I mean, I can tell you in New York, they closed a lot of them. And the people went out. They went out onto the streets, and it's a terrible thing. But a lot of our conversation has to do with the fact that we have to open up institutions. We can't let these people be on the streets. So we have a tremendous crowd in New Hampshire. It's all over the place. Everybody's saying, wow. Our competitor has virtually no crowd. I don't know what that means. I assume that's a poll of some kind. But I think we're going to do very well in New Hampshire. New Hampshire should have been won last time, except we had a lot of people come in at the last moment, which was a rather strange situation. Thousands and thousands of people coming in from locations unknown. But I knew where the location was. But I think we're going to have a tremendous success in New Hampshire. These are great people, and the relationship is very good. We're looking at it. I feel very badly. I think he was very harshly sentenced, but we're looking at it very strongly. People feel very strongly about that. I floated it, and I wanted to see where the Democrats stood, where the Republicans stood. People feel very strongly about Rod Blagojevich and his sentence. He's been in there for 7.5 years. That's a long time. And what he did was terrible, but it's a long time. It's a long time.
Are you pushing Mitch McConnell on background checks?
I've been dealing with Mitch McConnell. He's a man who we have had tremendous success with judges and judicial appointments. We're going to be up to 179 federal judges within the next 2 months. Nobody would have believed that's possible. And that was because President Obama was unable to get him completed. So I inherited about 138 empty seats. Nobody can believe it. And we will have them almost all filled with tremendous judges and tremendously talented, smart people. They'll be filled within 2 months. So I have 179 judges and 2 Supreme Court justices. That's something that nobody would have ever thought possible. I want to thank very much President Obama for that.
I was asking about background checks for gun owners, for gun purchasers.
Yeah, we do. I've been speaking to Mitch about that. I've been speaking to everybody about it. And we don't want to see crazy people owning guns. But I also want to remember that mental illness is something nobody wants to talk about. These people are mentally ill. And we have to study that also. Because, you know, it's them. They pull the trigger. The gun doesn't pull the trigger. They pull the trigger. So we have to look very seriously at mental illness, and we're doing that at a level that hasn't been done before. Okay?
Mr. President, besides the Senate Majority Leader and Pat Toomey, is there anyone else who you're talking to?
To many Republicans. And I'll tell you, it's been an amazing experience. They want to see something happen. And basically, it's very simple. They don't want to have insane people, dangerous people, really bad people having guns. Republicans agree with me on that. I think, you know, I would say pretty much uniformly.
Do you think this will be easy to do when the Senate comes back?
I'm afraid that if we came up with a good bill, I think the Democrats then might up it and then do things that can't be done and that the public wouldn't want done. I hope that wouldn't happen, but that's happened in the past. You understand?
You support universal background checks.
I support strong, meaningful background checks where people that should not have guns, people that are insane, people that are mentally ill, people that are bad people, like this guy in Philadelphia who's been arrested numerous times. He's a bad guy, where people like that would not have guns. And frankly, people like that should be locked up. He shouldn't have even been on the streets. Thank you very much.
Did you talk to Xi directly? Was that who you talked to in China?
I will speak to him. We have a call scheduled soon. President Xi. We'll be speaking to him very soon. I really believe he can work it out. I know him well. If he wants to, he can work that out in a very humane fashion. He can work something and everybody's happy. Thank you.
Well, that's the White House where Donald Trump is. Where Obama was as well. Like I say, Donald Trump was talking about doing trade with the UK, and Boris Johnson wants to do trade with America, the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson. So they're still talking about that, and yeah, hopefully it will still proceed. That will happen. Like I say, Jeremy Corbyn is still trying to put a fire in the works in Labour, trying to stop us from leaving the EU. With the Democrats trying to stop us leaving the EU as well. Pro-Remain. Conservatives want out the EU. So look here. Lots of people don't follow politics, but some people do, and some people don't. That's just the way it is. So like I said about
when it comes to Brexit, there might be little that surprises. But sheep being shepherded down Whitehall is novel. A protest over the damage no deal might do to farming. Equally eye-catching, some would argue, a request by Jeremy Corbyn to get Parliament to block no deal by installing him as interim Prime Minister.
We, the Labour Party...
This guy gets on my nerves, Jeremy Corbyn, guys.
Have, I think,
he's pro-Remain. He wants to stay in the EU. He doesn't want to leave. He wants a second referendum all the time in Article 50. Jeremy Corbyn does. He's Labour, Jeremy Corbyn. Boris Johnson, Conservative. And plus, Boris Johnson was the Mayor of London as well.
What we really need to do now is save our country from a catastrophic no-deal Brexit. And to do that, we need something that will bring people together across the House of Commons.
And she's pro-Remain like Jeremy Corbyn.
Person to
Doesn't want to leave the England.
But hang on, weren't they in coalition for 5 years with the Conservatives?
You put David Cameron into number 10 as a party.
That was an entirely different scenario from what we're facing now, which is an emergency government for a specific time.
These type of people are full of excuses, changing things, don't respect the people or the public.
I am working with the Labour Party. I've been speaking to Labour MPs in the last few weeks. I've been working with them.
But the SNP leader
There's Boris Johnson.
gave Boris Johnson short shrift 3 weeks ago, is now thinking of supporting Mr Corbyn.
I think Jo Swinson has got it wrong on this. If she is as serious as I believe she is about wanting to stop a no-deal Brexit, and I want to stop Brexit preferably if I can, then ruling things out at this stage when there is so little time left and so much at stake, I think is a mistake.
Meanwhile, Dominic
Parliament,
Grieve, a former Tory Attorney General who also opposes Brexit, wasn't ruling out putting Jeremy Corbyn into number 10 either.
I'm a Conservative, and he, on the face of it, is not only a Labour Party member, but he appears to have fairly Marxist views. So there are bound to be certain areas of difference between us. But at this stage, that isn't the question. The question at the moment is there scope for cooperating to stop a no-deal Brexit?
Well, I think it's absolutely extraordinary if any Conservative MP considered even for 1 minute installing Jeremy Corbyn, in Downing Street. Jeremy Corbyn wreck our economy.
It may be the
Jeremy Corbyn would wreck our
yet,
economy.
but the chances of no
Jeremy
deal
Corbyn would wreck our
unseating Mr.
economy
Johnson
of the
are
UK.
rising.
I agree with him on that one. We don't need a Jeremy Corbyn government in the UK. We need Boris Johnson or Nigel Farage, or people that know how to run the country.
We will put a motion of no confidence against this government.
This is all Jeremy Corbyn says here, guys. No confidence vote. No confidence vote.
Take Britain out of the European Union on 31st of October.
The time for you, Jeremy Corbyn, is to give up. You're not going to be Prime Minister, Jeremy Corbyn. You don't need the Labour's Prime Minister.
But he also seems to be lining up with Donald Trump and all of his administration to do some kind of sweetheart trade deal, which can only be damaging to.
See, he thinks it's damaging for the country. He doesn't. He's too comfortable in the EU, Jeremy Corbyn. He doesn't want to stand on his own 2 feet. Pro-Remain.
By his obsession with a no-deal Brexit. I hope that they will all support the motion of no confidence that I will put, and that will. You
can write as much letters as you want, Jeremy Corbyn, but people are not going to just stop Brexit because you don't want to leave. We don't want a government by Labour.
In order to prevent a no-deal Brexit and bring about a general election so the people of this country.
This guy irritates me, as you guys can see here on the TV there. It's irritating. It's like a piece of shit on your shield, like a fly. People are scared of just leaving their own country. They don't understand what it means to be British. I'm British, and I want to leave the EU. I want to see the world grow, and they think, oh, it's so damaging to leave the EU. More scaremongering. Betrayal of the country. We should have left in 2016 referendum, but we didn't. Trying to make things worse for us. And the people that want to leave the EU, and we've been betrayed. Hopefully the 31st of October will see us leave the European Union. They make a trade deal with America, and Donald Trump wants to see that as well. Would like us to trade with America. The country's a mess at the minute by the looks of things.
This was a short journey along the front lines in Middlesbrough's battle against lethal drug abuse. We stop in a loading area.
This is Middlesbrough, UK. Drug abuse or something.
Die of drug poisoning in this town.
Drug poisoning.
A woman in her 30s took her last fatal dose of heroin here exactly 1 week ago.
Are you doing all right?
We have a big drug problem in the UK, guys, as most of you may know or don't know.
Just a few minutes before, we're protecting her identity. A girl died here recently. Angel used to sleep next to her here. She's dead, says her friend, because the heroin being sold in the town at the moment is mixed with something that can make your heart stop.
These are your classic 3 street deals, 3 individual £5 wraps of heroin, the brown powder,
Homelessness, people taking drugs, and people know how to live on the streets, no money. The world we're living in.
What it's getting mixed with. Yeah, it's there's something different about this coming back, which is causing the deaths that we're getting in the last week or two.
Every day now at Middlesbrough's Accident and Emergency Unit, they get anywhere between 10 and 20 people admitted because of substance misuse.
There used to be a team of specialists based here who worked with addicts after they were discharged. They'd make sure they were properly housed and put them in touch with a GP who could offer treatments.
Why can't it just help more people like it, most people? Unless they're short of staff in these hospitals and these mental hospitals and these work placements or whatever.
See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. All right.
For the moment, then, that hole is being filled by charity. Susan Gill runs a kitchen,
See you tomorrow.
which provides one hot meal a day for heroin addicts every lunchtime. She keeps a register of them in life and death.
We have 9 since April.
Nine people
since
who
April.
come in here have died.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yes, we've had 9. So there is 3 in the morgue at this moment, as we speak.
People you know.
Yes.
There are some addicts who are at least lucky enough to have a roof over their head. But among the people who look out for them, there's a similar sense of desperation.
What happens on this street? You see the ambulances here regularly. You see the police here regularly. You see overdoses continually. It's awful.
Tina's work was once personal. Her son, Clifford, died 18 months ago after 20 years of heroin addiction.
He was a cannabis smoker, and then they just dragged the cannabis up over a couple of months and started putting reefers out laced with heroin. That's how clever the drug industry is. And he hated himself for being a heroin addict. He was ashamed of it. Didn't want to be that. Nobody does.
You see a lot of people are hurting on
Addiction
drugs
pushes people to the dark
and
edges of
smoking
society.
and
In this town,
all
they have
these
worked out ways
painful
to bring
things
them
in the
back,
world, people dying.
if only they were allowed to use them.
You know, because the government would actually do something about it and actually help the people that need help. It's like sometimes people are walking alone in the world. I mean, I've suffered with depression myself. It's not good. And I drink a couple of beers every night and just to relax. Doesn't most people. But not everyone understands the clearer picture, I think, in my mind, and probably everybody else's mind or people's minds. You know, depression is a real thing. So all I can say about that subject or matter, but I'm just flicking through YouTube to see what else I can show. I mean, Boris Johnson did a spoke the other day and did his Prime Minister Boris Johnson delivery, the first ever or something. So some of his words is done here. But we want the proper one, so we're going to go for question time, Boris Johnson.
My job is to serve you, the people. Good evening. I'm speaking to you live from my desk in Downing Street. We, in this government...
I just don't want broken promises in this government. I want them to deliver on Brexit for the people, instead of pushing things back all the while.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live from my desk in Downing Street for the first ever People's Question Time. People's PMQs. And at the moment, I'm afraid MPs are still off on holiday, but I can take questions unpasteurized, unmediated from you via this machine. So I'm going to go straight away to Lisa.
It'd be nice if people just listen to one another, communicate, sit down and have a conversation. But people don't know how to do that more. It's always violence and war and people killing each other, stabbing each other, shooting people at each other.
Opposition in Parliament. Luther, you've asked the crucial question, and there's a terrible kind of collaboration, as it were, going on between people who think they can block Brexit in Parliament and our European friends. And our European friends are not moving in their opposition in their willingness to compromise. They're not compromising at all on the withdrawal agreement, even though it's been thrown out 3 times. They're sticking with every letter, every comma of the withdrawal agreement, including the backstop, because they still think that Brexit can be blocked in Parliament. And so the awful thing is that the longer that goes on, the more likely it is, of course, that we will be forced to leave with a no-deal Brexit. That's not what I want. It's not what we're aiming for. But we need our European friends to compromise. And the more they think that there's a chance that Brexit can be blocked in Parliament.
I'm just hoping Boris Johnson here can give us a deal and we actually will leave with a good deal.
Luther, I want you to know that I remain confident that we'll get there. We will come out of the European Union on October the 31st, because I think in the end, both our friends in other European capitals and I think MPs will see.
Should hopefully get an American trade deal with Donald Trump.
And I'm going to go to Nikki, who's a farmer in Scotland, and Nikki wants to know, what am I going to do to protect our Union of Nations? And well, Mickey, there's lots of things I think we should be doing, but one, as Minister for the Union, that I think is very important is to stress the benefits that flow to us all from the Union. And I was absolutely bowled over in Scotland recently to see investments flowing.
The MPs will be back in September in Parliament.
To the nuclear
on holiday in a minute.
And also, of course, to the shipbuilding yard at Govan. And I saw thousands of jobs, high-class, high-skill, wonderful jobs in Scotland that are directly created as a result of investments from the whole of the UK, and therefore showing how Scotland in particular benefits from participation.
Scotland wanted to stay in the European Union.
Union of the last few centuries. And
the lady's name's called Anna Sewsbury or something.
Minister for the Union. But I talk up those successes, whether it's in science, in R&D, in education, all the investments that flow to Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, the England as part of the Union. So that's one of the things we're going to be doing. And Sam Dearden from Newport, South Wales, asks, what lengths am I going to go to prevent Parliament from blocking Brexit? And would this include scheduling an election after 31st of October? Well, Sam, I think the British public have had a lot of elections and electoral events. They had the election in 2015, they had the referendum in 2016, they had another election in 2017. I think what they want us to do is get on and
deliver Brexit
on October the 31st, and I never tire of telling you that is what we are going to do. And Amy in Weaverham says, what will you do to restore the British people's faith in politics and politicians after the last 3 years of division, chaos, and broken promises? And I think that
yeah, it's true that is broken promises. I can agree with you on that one.
I give you the same kind of answer, in fact, exactly the same answer. Amy, we're coming out of the European Union on October the 31st. I think that's what the British people voted for, and they feel very frustrated that 3 years after they gave that instruction and after the British Parliament promised again and again to people that we would do it, they feel very annoyed and frustrated that we haven't. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And Shao says more and more people in rural communities are feeling isolated from the politics of London and Westminster. What efforts will you take to ensure your government represents and hears the voices of all British people across the country? And I think that is a great point, Shao, because one of the things I want to do, even before we deliver Brexit, is to do far more to unite our country and bring it together. And I do think that Brexit was at least partly about people in towns and regions of the UK feeling that they weren't being heard. And we want to do a lot more to revive local democracy with a programme of devolution, devolving powers to towns and communities around the UK, but also levelling up across the UK. I believe that talent and genius is a unicorn opportunity is unfairly distributed. And the three things you need to do to bring the country together are improve education, invest in our schools, invest in further education in skills, invest in infrastructure, transport infrastructure, and invest in technology.